This is the Pleistocene, the last glacial maximum, a time known as the Ice Age, an era that most modern Californians would find unimaginable.
So you think about wildlife in the Bay Area. You've got mule deer, you've got coyotes, occasionally mountain lions. You go back to 15,000 years ago, then things get completely wild. You have mammoth, mastodon, two different species of saber-toothed cats, dire wolves, American lions, short-faced bear. There are camels, there's llamas. There's this huge diversity of big mammals that we call the megafauna. You can make a comparison with Africa now and San Francisco, the Bay Area, 12, 15,000 years ago. It must have been absolutely spectacular having this incredible diversity of mammals with these absolutely gigantic creatures that were roaming the earth, where we stand today.
Surprisingly, the Ice Age climate in the Bay Area is very similar to what we have today: warm, dry summers and cool, wet winters. But further north, it's freezing, and that's affecting the whole planet. Ocean waters are trapped in the massive polar ice sheets, causing the sea level to drop hundreds of feet. This exposes a broad expanse along our coastline Parkman calls the Farallon Plain.
So if we were here 20,000 years ago, you wouldn't hear the waves hitting the shore because the beach was 12 miles further out. Instead of looking at the ocean, you'd be looking at a broad, expansive plain covered with grass and sedges and some trees, but just teeming with life, absolutely teeming with life.
The San Francisco Bay also disappears, and in its place, a lush green valley. Here, the massive California River roars through a low break in the coastal range we now call the Golden Gate. During the summer migration, the grasslands overflow with life.
Imagine all these herds of animals living in what's now San Francisco Bay, which was a dry valley at the time, going out to the coast. They would have gone right down the river. They followed the river right out through the Golden Gate onto the same Farallon Plain. I've looked at the migration routes, and that's where we tend to find a lot of these fossils of bison and mammoth.
Evidence and remains of these animals have been found all over California.
This is Smilodon californicus. This is our state fossil, believe it or not. Most people don't know we have a state fossil, but this is it. This is the saber-toothed cat. And this is a very enigmatic species. It's one that visually characterizes the Pleistocene. It's one of these species that's no longer found anywhere on the planet today, but was very abundant in California. This is the skull of the Harlan's ground sloth, one of the medium-sized ground sloths that lived in the Bay Area. This animal here, probably about 9 feet long, maybe 600 to 800 pounds as an adult. This is California record black bear. It weighed well over 600 pounds. It was a very, very large black bear. So this being a reference point, probably one of the largest black bears I've ever seen or that anybody else might see. Compare that with this other member of the Pleistocene megafauna. This is the short-faced bear. This is the largest terrestrial carnivore that ever lived in North America. It was absolutely massive, at least 25% larger than a grizzly bear. It was a sprinting animal that could probably do at least 40 miles per hour over at least a mile flat. It chased down camels, llamas, horses, antelope. It was one of the most super of the super predators that we had in North America. Absolutely fantastically gigantic. It stood at least up to 13 feet tall. If I was one of the first North Americans, this would be my nightmare. So with this incredible diversity of wildlife, just think if you were one of the first people to come here. You've crossed over the Bering Land Bridge from Asia, you've made it down probably the west coast of North America, or maybe you've cut through a big divide between the major glaciers. You would have encountered all of these animals, the mammoth, the mastodon, all the bison, the giant ground sloths, and those carnivores, the American lion, the short-faced bear.
As scary as it must have been, when those first people arrived in the Pleistocene Bay Area, they found an absolute Eden.
Right where I stand, there could have been a mammoth that was nursing its young. There could have been a short-faced bear that was feeding on the carcass of a giant western camel. There could have been saber-toothed kittens, smacking around a pine cone, just playing. Wherever you were in the Bay Area, there was that megafauna. San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose, Walnut Creek, all those animals live there. and their remains are buried underneath where you're standing.